Welcome back. The Prime Minister used the event on the second day of his visit to US to further forge his connect with the diaspora. He also announced plans to open 2 new Indian consulates in the US in Boston and LA. 15,000 people had come from across the country to get a glimpse of the Indian Prime Minister. Here is what some of them had to say after the address.
Well, I'm joined right now by Mr. M.R. Rangaswamy, somebody who's lived in the United States for an extended period of time. He's seen Indo-US ties evolve over the time that he spent in this country as well. And let me begin by asking him about the event that has just concluded. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has, of course, addressed more than 14,000 members of the Indian diaspora who had gathered here at the Nassau Coliseum just a short while ago. They've all made their way out now. The event has just ended. What are your key takeaways, sir, from how it's all panned out here?
It was a remarkable documentation of Prime Minister Modi's tenure as Prime Minister, right? He came to Madison Square Garden. We knew him then as a new Prime Minister. He got to know us. Then he kept consistently coming back. We hosted him in San Francisco Bay Area at the SAP Center, and then the Howdy Modi event, and now this event. So over that journey, 10 years, he's been able to document all the things his government has done. You know, building airports, building ports, building roads, improving the educational system, improving relationship with other global economies. And so it was beautifully laid out. But the best thing that got me excited was when he said, "I salute the Indian diaspora." He really has that affinity and love for the diaspora. And the diaspora has a love for him as well, which is also demonstrated by things like $26 billion of remittances that went from the US to India last year. A lot of it went to real estate investments, investing in tech companies, investing in the stock market. So a lot of money is fueling the growth of India from a $4 trillion economy to $10 trillion. And the diaspora is going to be a significant force in that success.
Sir, as far as the Indo-US relations are concerned, whenever there were bilateral visits on the part of several prime ministers of the past to this country, a lot of these engagements with members of the Indian community used to be behind closed doors. Right. We were not accustomed to seeing the kind of extravaganza that we've seen today, or for that matter, when Prime Minister Modi began the trend of having these large-scale interactions, a trend that he set with the interaction in Madison Square Garden almost 10 years ago. What kind of a messaging is that giving out in terms of the outreach on the part of Mr. Modi here?
I think the Indian community here, it feels proud to be known as Indians, right? This may not have been the case 20, 30 years ago when we all came. It was not a big deal, but now India is growing in stature, the economy is growing, the diaspora is more successful. As we have documented, for example, in the Diaspora Impact Report, 40 metrics of how the diaspora has impacted U.S. society. These are the kind of things that get the community excited that they are doing something good, and at the same time, India is rising. So it's a combination of the diaspora being more successful and impactful, and India growing as a global power. So I think that combination is what's getting everybody more and more excited. You know, I felt the audience today was as excited, if not more excited, than what I saw at Madison Square Garden 10 years ago, for example.
You did have an opportunity to speak to the Prime Minister shortly before he made his way on stage. Can you just give our viewers a perspective of what was discussed? Yeah,
it was a brief meeting where we told him about the impact of the Indian diaspora and our report that we've launched, that Dr. Jaishankar actually launched for us a month ago in Delhi. So we kind of gave him a quick talk about that. And so he was very excited. In fact, a lot of his speech, you would have seen bits and pieces of this being talked about as well during his speech. So really that recognition is there by the Prime Minister that the diaspora is going to be a force for India's success.
One overwhelming demand that we actually experienced at the time that we were interacting with members of the Indian diaspora today is to have dual citizenship for Indian Americans. Now, that's a foreign policy issue. That's a matter that the Indian government has been grappling with for quite some time, but they've been a bit cagey about granting dual citizenship. Realistically speaking, what can be achieved in terms of closer interaction between members of the diaspora as well as their families back home? The establishment of 2 consulates was one landmark announcement that was made today, but what more can be done, falling short perhaps of dual citizenship, which could be something that might take a very long time to materialize?
Yeah, that's a very complicated matter because it's not just between India and the diaspora, it's between India and the passports we hold. So you'll have to do a deal with US or with the UK or Australia. I mean, that's really cumbersome to deal with multiple countries all at once, because you can't just say US and India will do something, because then the British citizens and the Australian citizens of Indian origin will not have that same opportunity. So I think it's going to be a very long effort that's going to take for that to culminate, or it could be shorter if the Indian government comes out and says we're not going to do it. So we don't know yet where it's at, but a lot of people in the diaspora are excited about it and want to see something done, but we have to really wait for the Indian government, and of course organizations like ours and others have made it known to them. We just need a response.
Tell us a bit more about Indiaspora.
Yeah, so Indiaspora is a non-political network of Indian diaspora, wants to be a force for good. So we have doctors, lawyers, academics, CEOs, VCs, all part of this group, and we want to be a force for good. So what we do is work on philanthropy, giving, sharing, collaborating. During COVID, as you might know, the Indiaspora raised $15 million in a single month to give to India, and also we raised $1 million for the food banks in the US. So really we are a force for good, whether it's mentoring young people, whether it's giving to charities in the US, helping India. But the key thing is the ethos of seva is at the heart of what we do. And we're now not just in the US, we have people in the UK, Singapore, UAE, Australia, and Canada. So it's really a global organization that's getting together to help the community at large, but also help India itself.
Wish you all the best, sir, and congratulations on a very successful event that we've just witnessed here today. Thank you for speaking to Times Now.
Thank you for having me.